Morning, team. This lad's got some good stuff to say. Let's have a look.
We're outside, as far as I know. So that's at least 3 or 4 of the hotels in Ballina have been taken over. The Downhill Inn and the B&Bs. And they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. Let's put it like that. They're making money out of it. But the town is dying because of it. And the town is going to die. It won't happen today. It won't happen tomorrow.
Okay, we'll get into this chap in a minute, folks. But as you probably gathered, this is about all things immigration, aka Kalergi plan to destroy Europe. We should all really be aware of it. One of the the modus operandi of the big club, the cabal. Yes, that club that you don't belong to, and neither do I. Is division. It's the thing the biggest card they play is division. Division, or aka problem, reaction, solution, because when you've got division, you've just got a never-ending series of problems that appear to need fixing. What they don't want is people to be in touch with their divinity, their spiritual self. So a lot of this stuff goes away. But let's just take a quick run through it, folks. I pulled up a few bits and pieces. What am I saying? The chat today, folks, it's set for members only, channel members. It's just a reminder for you to subscribe, or subscribers, I should say, because we get so many people unsubscribed. So if you can just check if you're subscribed, then you can comment in the chat. Now, this is in Quillette.com. It was saying in a recent survey, 75% of Irish people stated they believe the country has let in too many immigrants. I wonder if that other 25% are just might probably be a bit asleep, mightn't they? What's it say here? Following a quarter century of immigration, however, more than 20% of Ireland's population is now foreign-born. And immigrants keep coming. Of course they keep coming because it's a plan. And most people are asleep to it. The number of asylum seekers increased by 415% last year. 415%. According to Ireland's News Talk programme, 70% of those immigrants were male. We're going to look at why this is, folks. It might not be for the reason that you think it is. And almost 40% had false or no passports. Yeah, because if you're claiming asylum, you want to chuck your passport away, don't you? Because it just muddies the water around who you are, and it makes it harder to disprove your asylum story. On the rare occasions on which an immigrant is ordered to be deported, only around 1 of every 7 deportation orders are carried out. What we got to remember there is not every illegal immigrant who are in reality economic migrants, folks, no different to what you and I would do if, say, we wanted to go and live in Spain for a better life. It's just that this is a control plan. So there's nefariousness behind it that we need to wake up to. Just sort my webcam out a sec. Take my autofocus off because it keeps blurring my absolutely gorgeous face. There we go. Yes, this isn't. So out of every 7 deportation orders, so 7 people is like, no, you've not got asylum, you haven't got right to remain in this country, you're not going to get a passport, go home. Only 1 person out of that 7 is actually, they're actually enforcing it. But what we got to remember is not everyone claims asylum. Some just come here to say work in a a dubious premises, can we say, or some kind of menial, low-paid labour where it's cash in hand, that kind of stuff. So just sort of pointing that out. Have you heard of the Rwanda Plan, which apparently has just been signed off in British Parliament? The Rwanda Plan was a plan to send refugees... Let me start again. It's becoming problematic for Ireland because Britain have adopted the Rwanda Plan. The Rwanda Plan, if I just dip into it here, this is in Sky News. Sky News is my favourite source of news, folks. I love it. I have Sky News playing 24/7 in the bedroom, the kitchen, the bathroom, the shower, my car. Very credible news source, folks. What was I saying? I've forgotten what I was saying. The Rwanda bill will finally become law. Well, what is it? For weeks, peers have been pushing back on the scheme, which seeks to deport asylum seekers arriving in the UK via small boats to the African nation, and trying to get ministers to make changes to the controversial legislation. I'm just going to explain that, but before I do, this is a great example, friends, why we use punctuation and why you can't trust Sky News for the simple reason they can't even write properly. But they expect you to believe all their propaganda. That should be, which seeks to deport asylum seekers arriving in the UK, comma, via small boats, comma, to the African nation. They're not suggesting that we deport illegal immigrants in the UK, or refugees, I should say, by small boats to Africa. What they're saying is the small boat people aren't going to get a welcome here. They're going to immediately be put on a plane and sent to Rwanda, which, if you think about it, a sub-Saharan African nation is way more sensible. The fact that people will travel for weeks and put themselves through untold danger and exploitation to arrive in the UK, it doesn't really make sense, does it, when they could just go next door to Rwanda or a couple of countries across. So what Britain has done is pay Rwanda an awful lot of money, and it'll be an awful lot of your money, so that when they arrive here, they get sent back there. And yes, I am generalising. Africa is made up of many different countries, but they get sent back to Rwanda. Now, the problem from Ireland is now asylum seekers in Ireland can claim that if they cross illegally from Britain, which a lot do, I think they come in through Northern Ireland, they can't be sent back to Britain, because Britain will deport them, and therefore that's against their human rights. Do you see how this is working? So that's an additional problem for the wonderful people of Ireland. The other thing I wanted to say is there was a statistic here about how many immigrants they've had in the country. It's this one here. 6,000 people have applied for asylum in Ireland this year. So that's in 4 months. Not even quite 4 months. 6,000 people. That doesn't include the people that haven't yet claimed asylum, or the people that are never going to claim asylum because they're just going to be in the country illegally. Now, when you add this to it, this is where it becomes interesting, because remember, when people say they're fighting age young men, which is concerning, because you've got to remember, the people in the West now don't want to join the military. They've seen all the 9/11 bullshit and the Afghanistan. They're like, nah, that's just nonsense. We're not fighting for the military-industrial complex and the European banking families. We don't want none of that. But of course, who is going to just join up when the salary to join up is probably 20 times, if not 30, if not 50, that which you'd get in your home nation? Just thought I'd throw this out there, because have you noticed how private security now is getting more and more made up of immigrants who just sort of stand there looking a bit like they ain't got a clue what's going on, not saying anything because they don't really, I don't think they really know what they're supposed to be doing. And if you think, if that's the future for our militaries, that's scary, isn't it? Because when you've got a military made up of people that don't actually care about the country because they've got no real ties to it, then you've got a military that could turn on the people of the country. And it's bad enough having the military that we do have, having been in the military, because I can tell you, you're not very enlightened in the military, are you? It's not your job. It's not your job to be awake and aware. It's your job is to, provide defence, which has sadly been abused, hasn't it, in recent years. Moreover, like, your job's been to provide forays for the cabal at great expense. But on the best of days, your military aren't really going to protect you folks. They're not at that stage in their developing their understanding of what's going on in the world, what's really going on in the world. They do watch in the military the Sky News, the scrolling, the 24/7 programming and brainwashing, about evil, brutal dictators who are going to come and, bomb you in your bed, and all the propaganda that we've seen. So this is why this becomes worrying from an immigration point of view. Is there's your 6,000 people that have applied for immigration in Ireland. They're only the people that have applied and applied so far. That doesn't mean that only 6,000 people have entered Ireland. You could maybe quadruple that figure. I have no idea. But if we just take the 6,000 and then add this to it, this is the Red Cross program. Now, the Red Cross, I don't know how it operates in Ireland, but in the UK, if you arrive here as an asylum seeker, even while you're seeking asylum, so you haven't got right to remain yet, you can have your you can apply to the Red Cross to have your family brought over. I know it sounds like a real bad episode of Alf Garnett, doesn't it? But that's the truth. Since 2011, we have worked with the International Organization for Migration to reunite over 10,000 people with their family members. I would suggest, folks, that 10,000 people probably isn't accurate. I would imagine that the flack, the blowback they would receive if they put the real figure in there, might see people pulling down their gates, so to speak. 9 out of 10 have been women and children joining husbands and fathers in the UK. Now do you see why the men come first? And you would, wouldn't you, if you were going to make a perilous sea journey or sit in the back of a truck for 36 days with just a bottle of water and a bag to do your business in. You don't really want the missus and the kids being with you, do you? So there you go. Folks, can we get some likes and subscribes, please, if this is all making sense? Thank you. Now let's come on to this chap. This is what I love, folks. This is what I love. Listen to this bloke. I can't play all of it. Let me just give you the channel, because this channel's doing some good stuff. It's this one down here. Let's move myself out of the way. That is called Saladin Dash Ulysses of Erio. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not sure why it's got a Muslim name on a channel that's supporting the Irish, but it has. So let's have a look. I can't play all of it, but this chap says some good stuff.
Of the hotels in Ballina have been taken over, the Downhill Inn and the B&Bs, and they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, let's put it like that. They're making money out of it, but the town is dying because of it, and the town is going to die. It won't happen today, it won't happen tomorrow, it won't happen in a week's time, and it won't happen in a month's time. It'll happen in drips and drabs. One shop will close, two shops will close, and they'll all end up...
Sorry, you can't see his face. There you go.
Closing, and that'll just be that. And we'll be all left wondering, oh, well, I wish I did more, I wish I did more.
Play a bit, I'll just fast forward a bit. Oh.
Ukrainians, or refugees, or wherever they're coming from, right? And the problem is there's been no study done, or no bit of research, or no impact report on if the services in the town are available. And that brings me on to my third point, and my third fact, and I'm dealing off 3 facts here. The town doesn't have the services. Anyone you talk to, there's no doctor. Anyone you talk to, there's no dentist. Anyone you talk to, which creche could we put it? There's a woman there now, and
Guys, I'll stop that there, just because we get hit for copyright and all that all the time. What a well-spoken man. He goes on to say, look, I'm just a simple plumber. But I feel duty-bound to come up and speak out here. He says, I like to do my plumbing in the day, go home, have tea with my family, play a bit of football at weekends. Clearly a nice guy, clearly a guy without ego, or very limited ego. He's not doing this because he wants, tea, biscuits and medals. He's doing it because he knows it's the right thing to do. The problem is he's asking the question, why don't their voted in leaders, their parliament and their councils, why are they letting this happen? And he's suggesting put pressure on them, which obviously, can you see where it all falls down when you don't have an understanding that life in Ireland is run by a global cabal? They came up with the idea, the Kalergi Plan was written, which suggested the control of Europe, the disintegration of individuality, and community in Europe. Organisations like the World Economic Forum to spring up. And Ireland are right in the melting pot, aren't they, of all that rainbow nonsense. They're just being used and abused, and it is great that they're... I think they've underestimated the Irish, put it that way. I think they thought that they were just going to sit there and take this lying down, because do you remember when Ireland become part of the EU, a lot of people got very rich very quick, didn't they? And there you go. That's never going to be good. But I think they just thought it was going to be a rollover. Everyone was going to be on the gravy train, and it's wonderful young men like this that are showing it's not. If you know this chap, by the way, folks, let's get him on the podcast. I'd love to have a chat with him. But like I say, you got to understand, folks, this is not your council and that. Yes, they are all greedy. Yes, they're filling up the hotels because they're all getting backhanders. The hotels are getting rich. They're all taking their 30 pieces of silver and living as Judases, aren't they? Because where do they live? Got to show this. They live in their ego self, don't they? They live down here. They live down here. Oh, got to put me. Oh. Sorry, folks. That's my ADHD. You know, they're living down here in the greed and the desire and the lower self, and they're not enlightened individuals. When you're an enlightened individual, folks, you do what's best in the name of love. What's the best for your fellow human beings. You take what you need, but you don't take anything more. And sadly, we've got a society that's been very cleverly cultured through TV, through celebrity, through materialism, to keep people living down here. You know, you can't take all that money with you, politicians, when you die. But what you will leave is a legacy that you were willing to screw over your own communities for your greedy little pot. It's not worth it, folks. Better to free yourself up and live in paradise. You know, that money never going to make you free. You know, it's never going to make you free. Until we understand this is what's going on, folks, then you can call for Parliament to change and sack this councillor. And you remember Scouse, 5 Mile of Death, Scouse? Lovely bloke. We're going to do another podcast next week. He's been attacking the town council. I don't mean physically. I mean, he's been nailing them, going in there with the cameras, and all the councillors are like, oh, you can't film in here. He's like, yeah, actually, I can film in here. You're public servants. This is a public space. Show me anywhere it says I can't film you. And they've been filming their councillors who otherwise want to get away with untoward stuff and don't want it filmed. You know, this is the whole situation with the councils is just ridiculous. You've got these old dodderers. I mean no disrespect to old people. I'm old myself, but they have no clue. Like the health thing, they all believe the old way of thinking is that, you know, your well-being is related to other people, as opposed to understand nonsense. It comes from within. Well-being comes from within. It's nothing to do with like sit down at the bloody butcher's shop or, you know, marrying in the pub. They don't understand none of that. So this last 3 years, they went along with this criminal narrative on behalf of corporate psychopaths who have no love for you at all. They just despise you. They despise you and they want you out of the way. How can these old dodderer councillors bloody understand that? You know, you need to do research. You need to read books. You need to get your head around and understand things. You need to be able to watch videos on, say, for example, YouTube and have critical analysis and say, yep, I get that, but I can also see this video is leading people down a garden path. And the person who's making these videos is doing it to get subscribers, etc., etc. So, yes, need an understanding of what's going on spiritually, folks. I'm not trying to sound like stupid, but otherwise, stalemate, isn't it? You need an understanding of what's going on physically. Now, I think the reason I like this lad a lot is he's like my buddy Martin Maloney, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, if not more. If you haven't seen Hardy Bucks, folks, gotta watch it. Check out Martin's been in Vikings. He's been in lots of stuff. He's an absolutely cracking lad. He's so funny. This is him in Hardy Bucks.
You know, they say life is like a bar of chocolate. You never know which one the old lady is going to come back from the shop with, you know. Sky boy.
There's 2 types of women in Cashtown. There's the finers, I call. They're the ones now that read books. Then you have the other ones. You can walk up to them and you can just dog into them. It's just basically sex.
I can't play anymore. We will get hit for copyright. Yes. Now, folks, I'm going to go over to our locals platform now. Here's just another video. Sorry, Finn sent me. This is water cannons and the Garda being deployed. I think this town that we're talking about is Newtown, Mount Kennedy. What else did I come up with just when I was there? One sec. This is something, this is one of those insidious things that doesn't get broadcast but just seems to come in by the back door. This is the Ireland's military website. And it's saying, what is the role of the military? And you can see on the left there, defend the state. Well, obviously. This is interesting that they slipped in aid the civil power. So aid the police, the government and the councils, basically. To aid the civil power, aid the civil authority. Meaning in practice to assist when requested the Garda, so that the police, who have primary responsibility for law and order, including the protection of the internal security of the state. Does get a bit concerning, folks, doesn't it? When you can see these poor people in this new town that are just protesting that their town's being destroyed, they're now going to have the army pointed at them. And will the army care? Well, no, because the army's going to be made up more and more and more of foreign nationals who don't give a damn. They're just going to do what they're told to do. I would imagine. Kind of like consciousless, so to speak. So it was interesting that Rich Planet, he's got a video up at the moment. I'm going to try and find time to watch this. He's talking to Gemma O'Doherty, who's an award-winning journalist in Ireland, and she said she basically got squeezed out because she was talking about all this corruption. So I get over and support Rich on his channel because he's, he's had the unfair end of the stick, hasn't he? I'd have a look at Rwanda Plan, folks. It might not, you don't have to believe whatever, but you do need to understand these things in order to dismiss them. So worth having a look at that, having a look how it fits in with the EU. Saying down here, Viktor Orban is one of the few to address the huge deceit by the elite. For elite, folks, just insert cabal. It's this guy and his club, basically. Together with Iceland, Hungary is the first country to drive Rothschild-controlled banks from the land, and we need to do the same. I'm not saying that, folks. I'm just reading off here. And this is awesome stuff now, comparing London to 1970s Belfast. We'll talk about that on Locals. Right, folks, thanks to everyone. Just going to have a quick look at the chat. To say thank you. If you could please like and subscribe, folks, as well. Let's have a look at what you're saying in the chat. Dun, dun, dun. In a second. Yes, Amanda's saying Europa, the last battle. Amanda, that's a fascinating documentary series, isn't it? Is it? It's a series of 10 fascinating documentaries charting the history of Europe up until this day. Obviously, it's from the director's perspective, so you don't have to agree with everything that you see in it, but it's one of those ones, isn't it, where if you don't watch it, you don't have any reference points with which to critique it. Do you get what I'm saying? So yes, Amanda, thank you for that. Here's another one. Everything is a rich man's trick. That's from JFK through to the events in New York and Washington, isn't it? Fascinating. Utterly fascinating. Especially the bit about, was it J.D. Tippit, who was a police officer who looked identical to JFK, who, funnily enough, lost his life on that day. Not as strange as it sounds, folks, but it is strange when that. I believe you'll find a copy of that on our Locals, folks. This the greatest story that's never been told? Isn't that like an alternative view of Adolf Hitler? The kind of story that the West didn't want you to see. A lot of his speeches translated. This is why I say, folks, always worth owning your own mind and not letting Hollywood tell you what your history is. Because the job of Hollywood really is to protect the narrative. Hence why we're seeing a lot what we're seeing in the Middle East at the moment. I'm going to be careful what I say here. Yes. Right. Okay, folks. Hello, Mystery. Yes, I'll see you for our date as prearranged on Locals. I'll be wearing the Oceans Elite badge. And on that note, can I just thank everybody that supported my Atlantic row. So I'm rowing the Atlantic, folks, in December. I'm going to be basically just shining a light for people struggling with mental health. You know, I was there once. Just my life was very challenging back in the day, and I don't regret any of it, and nor should you. But we need to look for a day in the future when things get better, which they always do. Then we need to start embracing the Force. Use the Force, Luke. What's the Force? The Force is understanding your divinity, that you're the universe experiencing itself. So you are God. Sorry if that upsets people, but that's your emancipation. That is, thou shalt be set free. That is understanding things like the firmament. What does it mean in the Bible when it says there's a firmament over the earth? Firmamente, firm of mind. Those people in the Matrix will be trapped on earth, won't they, in the 3D realm, thinking that the next Porsche they buy is going to make them happier. Not realizing that you can never get happiness from pleasure. You can never get peace of mind, I mean. Peace of mind comes from within, not going without. Firmamente means you need to go outside of your mind, outside of your thoughts. You need to tune in to the bigger picture. And that's why us crazies talk about the quantum realm, which is the bigger picture. There you go. Right. So, right, let's get to Locals. But everyone that supported the row, if you can chuck us a $5, folks, there's a link below in the description box below. But if you can get on our Facebook and support us, we're having a sort of distinct lack of engagement. Distinct lack of engagement. I think because we're not rowing until December, people don't really want to get involved, which doesn't really help us when we got to build this thing up, you know. So there you go. All right, my lovelies, much love. I'll see you on Locals. Cheers.
Cause I've been living